the dot products were cross products and dot and cross products, right? And we have seen that dot product is straightforward, and that is you can write ui vi if you want to dot two vectors. Cross product is a bit tricky in the sense that if you want to write the kth component, you have to multiply ui vj, and you have to make use of this epsilon or permutation symbol epsilon ijk, where k would be the kth component you are looking at. And this I've shown you that this can be written as the kth component. Let's suppose the third component I want to talk about, then this particular combination of 1 2 3 can be written in terms of the third component. We started looking operators, different operators, gradient, divergence, and curls. We will look in more detail in the sense that we have not gone through. It seems there was some confusion between those two, so we are going to look it again: the gradient, the divergence, and the curls. So the gradient is essentially a vector quantity. Okay, and the gradient operator is your nabla operator. Okay, and gradient operator operates okay, and let me put it that way. So gradient, after operating you get the vector quantity, but the thing you want to operate it on is some scalar field. This phi is a scalar field. And once you operate this phi on this particular nabla symbol, you will get some quantity which is a vector quantity, and which is a upscaled version of the lower tensor. So in the sense that the lower tensor, when you operate the del operator or the gradient operator on lower tensor, it will give you one higher tensor. If you take scalar, you will get vector. Okay, now this is the mathematical. So if you do the gradient of a vector, you will get a second order tensor. Okay, this is how you do it mathematically. But let us look into the physical significance of what exactly the gradient would be. So the definition of gradient is the gradient tend to point in the direction of the greatest change of. What does this mean? Again, let me draw. Let's suppose I have a room. In this room, I have a scale. So before that, we need to tell that what is this field all about. It could be scalar, it could be vector, it could be tensor. Okay, what do you mean by field? So field is a quantity field is which is defined at field is a quantity which is defined at all x comma y comma z, or in some sense it is continuous in the domain. So in two-dimensional analogy, if I think about in two-dimensional analogy, so field is a function. Okay, so f y is equal to fx is a function. So whatever x you get, you put here, you will get some y. Okay, So in three-dimensional analogy, it is called field. Okay, whatever x, y, z you put, you will get some phi as a function of x, y, z. So whatever x, y, z you put, you will get some phi in some continuous sense. So it's a higher version of, you can say, a high dimensional function. You could say in some sense. So this is all about field. So this field can be either scalar, like temperature. So temperature, I want temperature to be denoted in x, y, z, or it could be vector. Vector, it means velocity. Let's suppose velocity I'm talking about, it's a vector. It's again maybe a function of x, y, z. It can also be a function of time also. Yes, it may be possible. Okay, it could be tensor, second order tensor as well. Maybe some, not tau, some other higher order tensor. Okay, but we'll not go into this much, but let's talk about finding the gradient of this temperature or this vector. So first we'll talk about, so widely used phenomena is we use gradients of scalars. Okay. Okay. Now again, the two-dimensional analogy of gradient is the slope. Okay, if you have y is equal to fx, you need a slope at some x naught. You take a slope over it and you tell that this is your dy by dx. Dy by dx is giving you the slope at that point. But in three-dimensional sense, let's suppose you have a three-dimensional field, or you have a function. I mean, this is your function. Now you have a field. Field means you have a surface. You may have the surface. Okay. Now for x, for every x, x and y, you are getting some z. Now for a single point, your slope can be defined as both way, like you keeping your x constant, and you can take a slope over here. You keeping your y constant, you can take a slope over here. So there is an ambiguity. So that is why this gradient comes into picture. Okay, so the gradient essentially will tell you, will point where this it will be a vector pointing in some direction. So this is your phi field, phi x comma y. This is your field. You have a field function. Okay, it is everywhere like surface. It is, so at particular point it will point in particular direction, this gradient term. So del phi gives you a direction, or this would be a vector which gives you the direction of greatest change of the scalar field, where this field is changing very maximally. So let's see how. So let's suppose your temperature in a room is 20 degrees C over here, 21 here, 21 here, 21 here, and 22 here, let's suppose, and everywhere it is 21 radially. Okay, so essentially, so this will have some sort of field function. So t as a function of x, y is given distributed way, some function. Let's suppose x x square plus y plus 2 something. It was given in certain fashion. So the gradient of this t will point this function. So this gradient of whatever it will come, it will have some I plus some j, and this will point in this direction. That's all. Because I know that the function is changing here in this direction very abruptly. After that, it may be possible that after that, this is 22, this is 22 again, but this side is 23. Rest are 22 again. So next you will tell that the function is going maximum at this particular point, going maximum in this direction. So gradient at this particular point will be different. So it will have a, so every point you can actually associate with your gradients depending upon your function. So this is how physically you will tell your gradient is. So in general, let me write a function. Let's suppose tau x comma y is my sum function. Let's suppose I have x square and y. This was my function. I want to deduce my gradient. So what I will do, I will operate it with t, and this operator is nothing but I dou by dou x, I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z. Since I am talking in 2-dimension only, so I may leave this thing aside for the time being, since this is 2-dimensional problem. So I can do this dou by dou x plus j y, and I operate it with t. So where t I can substitute with x square y. Okay, now operator will operate it. So dou I dou x square y by dou x plus j dou x square y by dou y. Now I can write 2x y I plus x square j. So this will be again will be a vector. This will be a vector, and this vector is also depending upon x and y. It means wherever you are going, your vectors may be okay depending upon your function, this function. Agree? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now this can also be this thing, this operation. Let's suppose this is can also be written in terms of index notation or tensor notation. So index notation can be written in terms of, let me write it here. So I want to look for ith component. So the ith component of this vector, so del phi or del t or del any function, ith component can be written as dou phi by dou xi. Okay, it means when you take I is equal to 1, so first component or x component can be written as x component is written as dou phi by dou x. When you take I is equal to 2, dou phi by dou x, second component can be written as dou phi by dou y, and similarly z. Okay, and as a vector notation, it can be clubbed together and can be written ijk. Okay, so this is how it is written in tensor notation. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about, so this is the gradient. Okay, and this is useful to understand the flow physics of any problem. We will be incorporating so many field variables in our fluid mechanics problems, such as pressure, temperature, and all sorts of things in 3-dimensional sense. Okay, pure 3-dimensional. That is why tensor notations are a way to beautifully swim into the algebras that involves through these equations, these bigger equations. Now let's talk about the divergence of a vector field. Okay, so the divergence of a vector field represents the flux generation per unit volume at each point of the field. Okay, now this will not, you will not be understanding this. So let me take an example of what this divergence is all about. Let's suppose you have a room, and let's suppose you have a pipe. So this is your pipe and your flow is happening continuously in and out. But in this room, in this tight enclosure room, you have air molecules, and these air molecules are actually in the pipe, it is moving. Okay, now this is your case A and this is your case B. So in case A, what you start, let's suppose I am hitting at this particular point. I'm hitting, you started hitting this particular point P, and this particular point Q also. Okay, with maybe I'm hitting Q P with more as compared to Q. Okay, now hitting, what will happen if I heat? What would you think what will happen? So in some sense, the molecules around it infinitesimally are tending to go or expand spherically in all directions, isn't it? But since I'm hitting Q with a lesser amount of heat, so the molecules around it will try to expand, but in lesser magnitude. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Whereas in this particular case, in a pipe, it is going straight forward. Okay, so if I take a closed enclosure, in all these cases, let's suppose this is my point over here. So in this point in the pipe, the things, what is happening is there is no net flux. No net flux. Flux is there. There is no net flux. But here, in this case, there is a net flux around this control volume. Here, why there is no net flux? Because there is something is coming in, and the same thing is going out eventually. So plus minus, it goes away. So no, net flux is 0. But here this is non-zero. Why? There is, so what do you mean by flux? So flux is a flux is defined as the quantity, any quantity cutting across some area, isn't it? Let's suppose I have a flow velocity, and it is cutting this much area, dA area. So I'll tell that V dot dA is my flux. Okay, let's suppose this particular thing was tilted. This area was tilted. Your area vector was something like this. So again, this is again V dot dA. Obviously, the flux would be lesser for this red case. Why? Because the amount of quantity that is cutting across area will be lesser because it is at some angle, right? So VDA cos theta. So theta is something there, so it will be lesser than something. But here it will, if it is normal, so direct magnitude will come. Okay, so and you understood flux. Okay, now since you have understood this flux, Now I can tell that here in this particular area, if it is being heated, you have a net flux or net generation, or in some sense it is called source term is there. इसमें और इसमें क्या होगा, source term is there but with less magnitude, और इसमें source term is 0, there is no source term. And this is very important to understand the flow visualization of any fluid flow scenario. You can have either flow is happening nicely, or you may have some sort of source term. Likewise, when you heat up a point, you may get the velocities, the molecules may expand around it, and it will show momentarily that it will have a source term. Okay, in source term the net flux is non-zero. So now how to quantify that if the vector if the flux generation per unit volume is so per unit volume is there or not. So what I will do, I will do the, so this is your vector quantity, this nabla is a vector quantity, is I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou k. I'm going to make a dot product, with the associated vector. This vector could be anything. Let's suppose I am talking about the velocity field. So this nabla dot v will give you the divergence of the vector field, and this divergence will tell that whether it is having source term if it comes. So essentially what is the dot product? A dot b. So there are two vectors. When you take a dot product, you get a scalar product. Okay, so it will have some magnitude 3 or 4 or 5 or 0, right? So you will see that here you will get, let's suppose I am getting 4. So yes, divergence is there of this much magnitude, and here where the source term is not there, del dot v, if you do the del dot v, you will get 0. It means the flow was not diverging, rather it was going smoothly and cutting in and out eventually. So there are no net flux here, but here there was net flux around that point. Agree? So here if you do the divergence, you may get del dot v. If I do, you get slightly lesser magnitude, maybe 1 or 2 or something, just to make an example. Okay, so let's see how to take the, so let's suppose I take some vector. So my vector field is, let's suppose x 2xi plus y j. This was my vector field. Now in this vector field, your fluid flow is happening in this way. Your vector field means, let's suppose, let me do this way. So this is your x, this is your y. So x is equal to 0 0 0 0 पे क्या होगा, nothing was there. X is equal to 1 1 1 comma 0 पे क्या होगा, so 1 पे 2i plus 0j. so यहाँ पे जो मेरा स्ट्रेंथ था 2i का था. ओके, नेक्स्ट वाले पॉइंट पे 4i का था. ठीक है, फिर इस वाले पॉइंट पे क्या होता, सो इस वाले पॉइंट पे x इज इक्वल टू 1, तो 2 प्लस 1j, तो 2 प्लस 1j ऐसा कुछ होता. यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ होता, ऐसा कुछ फील्ड था तुम्हारा. ठीक है, सभी डायरेक्शंस पे हमको दिख रहा था ऐसा फील्ड. अगर हम इसको ढंग से हम प्लॉट करते तो. नाउ अब इस फील्ड का हमको डाइवर्जेंस बताना था, तो डाइवर्जेंस के लिए क्या करेंगे, इस फील्ड को हम डेल डॉट वी कर देंगे. ओके, नाउ लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस. सो आई डॉ बाई डॉ एक्स प्लस जे डॉ बाई डॉ वाई, सो 2 डायमेंशन है तो 2 डायमेंशन ही रहने देते हैं, डॉट प्रोडक्ट 2xi प्लस वाई जे, ठीक है। अब करते हैं तो क्या आई डॉट आई, ठीक है, आई डॉट आई करते हैं और फिर वो कर देते हैं, तो यहाँ पे 2 आ जाता है, प्लस जे का करते हैं प्लस 1 इज इक्वल टू 3। तो देख रहे हो कि ये एक स्केलर आ गया। सो इस फील्ड का डाइवर्जेंस 3 था, इसका मतलब यहाँ पे जो ऐसा कुछ आउटफ्लो वाला जो कंडीशन बन रहा था वो 3 मैग्नीट्यूड का बन रहा था। Okay, so this is why it is important to understand the fluid flows. Now let's talk about how it is written in terms of tensor notation. So tensor और index notation. Index notation में हम कुछ ऐसा लिख देते हैं, del dot u करेंगे तो जस्ट उसको डॉ यू आई बाई डॉ एक्स आई करेंगे। क्यों क्यों करेंगे ऐसा? सो चूंकि ये डॉट प्रोडक्ट है तो बेसिकली ये क्या है, डॉ यू आई बाई डॉ एक्स आई। इसका क्या मतलब हुआ, आई क्या है, रिपीटेड इंडेक्स है। सो रिपीटेड इंडेक्स मतलब मेरा समेशन छुपा हुआ है, आई इज इक्वल टू 1 to 3 डॉ यू आई बाई डॉ एक्स आई। तो ये क्या हो गया, डॉ यू बाई डॉ एक्स, एक्स इज इक्वल टू 1 मतलब x1 डॉ यू 2 बाई डॉ एक्स 2 डॉ यू 3 बाई डॉ एक्स 3। वही किए थे यहाँ पे हम लोग, है ना, 1 on 1 किए थे बस, राइट। और ये जोड़ के मेरे को एक स्केलर मैग्नीट्यूड आएगा। ओके, सो यहाँ पे एक अच्छा प्रॉपर्टी देखने को मिल रहा है, वो ये कि ग्रेडियंट एसेंशियली पुट थिंग्स इनटू हायर टेंसर। ओके, स्केलर को वेक्टर बना देता है, वेक्टर को सेकंड ऑर्डर टेंसर बना देता है, वेयर एज डाइवर्जेंस उल्टा करता है। डाइवर्जेंस क्या कर रहा है, वो वेक्टर को स्केलर बना दे रहा है, टेंसर को अगर टेंसर होगा उसको वेक्टर बना देगा, मतलब ये स्टेप डाउन कर दे रहा है। ये दो चीज और प्रॉपर्टी ध्यान में रखना है, ठीक है। सो अंडरस्टूड दिस डाइवर्जेंस फिनोमेना वेरी वेल? यस, नो?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, good. Now let's talk about curl. So curl of a vector field represents the vorticity or the circulation per unit area of the field. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ, इसका मतलब हुआ vorticity क्या होता है तुम्हारा, let's suppose I have a vector field, again I have a vector field, let's suppose 2xi plus yj, जो सेम वेक्टर फील्ड लेते हैं। लेट्स सपोज इस वेक्टर फील्ड का मेरा क्या वॉटिसिटी था ये जानना है मेरे को, तो उसके लिए बोलता है कि तुमको नेबुला क्रॉस वी करना होगा। ओके, और वो जो क्वांटिटी आएगा वो एक वेक्टर ही होगा। ओके, सो वेक्टर का क्रॉस प्रोडक्ट वेक्टर ही रहेगा। इट मींस एक क्वांटिटी हमको देगा वो वेक्टर रहेगा, और वो वेक्टर जो है इन दोनों वेक्टर्स के म्यूचुअली परपेंडिकुलर वेक्टर रहेगा। ओके, सो मेरा x, y में अगर मेरा कुछ फील्ड ऐसे था, आई डोंट नो, सम ऐसा फील्ड था तो उसका जो वेक्टर आएगा वो मेरे को k डायरेक्शन में दिखेगा। वाओ, वेरी नाइस। ओके, सो लेट्स सी हाउ। सो डेल क्रॉस v करने के लिए हम क्या करेंगे, आई जे के करेंगे, और यहाँ पे क्या करेंगे, सो ये ऑपरेटर है मेरा, ये ऑपरेटर क्या था, आई डॉ बाई डॉ एक्स प्लस था, क्रॉस था 2xi प्लस yj। ओके, सो यहाँ पे डॉ बाई डॉ एक्स रखेंगे। अच्छा, k तो है ही नहीं यहाँ पे, तो k वाला टर्म हटा ही देते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। डॉ बाई डॉ y है, ऐसा कर सकते हैं हम, यहाँ पे 2x रखेंगे कंपोनेंट और यहाँ पे y रखेंगे और इसका डिटर्मिनेंट निकालेंगे। तो क्या हो जा रहा है मेरा, देखते हैं। सो i टाइम्स this time this dou y by dou x and this minus dou by dou y 2x j, ये देख रहे हैं ये जीरो हो जा रहा है। ओके ये जीरो हो जा रहा है, मे बी अभी जीरो हो जा रहा है। इसका जीरो का मतलब अभी एक कुछ नॉन जीरो एक्चुअली उठाते हैं तो ज़्यादा समझ में आएगा। ये जीरो हो जा रहा है, जीरो नहीं होने के लिए क्या करेंगे, इसको 2yi प्लस एक्स जे करते हैं। लेट्स सी, ये वाला मेरा फील्ड था। अब इसका हम कर्ल निकालते हैं। इस कर्ल से हमको क्या मिलता है आप देखते हैं, तो उससे एक्चुअली कुछ समझ में आएगा। ठीक है, तो कर्ल निकालने के लिए आई जे डॉ बाई डॉ एक्स डॉ बाई डॉ वाई और ये 2y और ये x। ओके, और ऑब्वियसली यहाँ के लेना पड़ेगा मुझे, जीरो डॉ बाई डॉ जेड और ये जीरो। तो बेसिकली ये जो क्रॉस प्रोडक्ट करके करेंगे वो केथ कंपोनेंट होगा, वो निकल के आएगा, है ना। तो यहाँ पर भी हम थर्ड वाला कंपोनेंट भी लेंगे क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली म्यूचुअली परपेंडिकुलर है, तो ये कंसीडर करना होगा। डॉ बाई डॉ जेड, ऑब्वियसली ये जीरो है तो जीरो रहने देते हैं। ओके, सो ith component will be 0, jth component will be 0, okay, 0 plus 0, but kth component कुछ आएगा, क्या आएगा, डॉ बाई डॉ एक्स एक्स प्लस 2 डॉ वाई बाई डॉ वाई। सो निकल के आता है 2k मेरा सर्कुलेशन आ रहा है। इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि ये जो फील्ड है जब उसको हम रखेंगे, बेसिकली ये जब ये फील्ड बनाएंगे तो फील्ड कुछ ऐसा दिखेगा मेरे को, ये भी सब ऐसा, मुझे नहीं पता, समथिंग ऐसा दिखेगा। इसका मतलब ये है कि जो इसके जो पार्टिकल्स हैं वो अगर हम राइट हैंड थंब रूल अगर रखेंगे, मे बी माइनस आ जाएगा कहीं पे, प्रोबेबली माइनस रहता है यहाँ पे, ये माइनस आ जाता है, -2। तो ये अगर x है, ये मेरा y है, तो माइनस के डायरेक्शन में मेरा थंब, अगर हम रोटेट कर रहे हैं मेरा फिंगर को, तो थंब के डायरेक्शन में मेरे को 2k एक वेक्टर पॉइंट करके मिलता है ओरिजिन से, और वो बताता है कि कितना उसका घुमाव था इस फील्ड का। ठीक है, वेरी फिजिकल, वेरी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट, सी यू कैन सी वेरी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट थिंग्स। मतलब वेक्टर फील्ड से हमको उसका घुमाव पता चल रहा है, मतलब वो कितना रोटेट हो रहा था। ठीक है, वो फील्ड कितना रोटेट हो रहा था अराउंड समथिंग। सो दिस वेक्टर फील्ड का क्रॉस प्रोडक्ट अराउंड दिस थिंग इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड सर्कुलेशन। वो हम लोग बाद में भी देखेंगे, बट अगर सर्कुलेशन नॉन जीरो है, इट मीन्स इट हैज सम वॉर्टिसिटी। ओके, उस फील्ड का कुछ घुमाव हो रहा था इन सम सेंस, हिंदी में अगर बोलेंगे तो। ठीक है, सो वो वॉर्टिसिटी कहलाता है, और ये वॉर्टिसिटी भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है फ्लूइड मैकेनिक्स के बिहेवियर को समझने के लिए। ठीक है, नाउ अब बात करते हैं। ओके, इस फील्ड में इसमें कोई घुमाव नहीं था, क्या था, ये लिटरली ये केवल डाइवर्ज हो रहा था, इसमें कोई घुमाव था भी नहीं हमारा, इसलिए मेरा वेक्टर फील्ड जो मेरा ये आया कर्ल, इसका जीरो आया, बट इसका कुछ घुमाव आएगा। दिस इज हाउ योर फिजिकल इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ कर्ल इज। ओके, नाउ टेंसर नोटेशन से मैं अगर ith कंपोनेंट देखना चाहता हूं तो उसका, उसमें हम परम्यूटेशन का परम्यूटेशन सिंबल यूज करना होगा हमें, एप्सिलॉन आई जे के सॉरी ith कंपोनेंट अगर लेना है तो, और जे के का कॉम्बिनेशन यहाँ बनेगा। Okay, this is how it is written. So if you do it carefully, you will get this. Okay, so I'm not going to put in details. So far physical understanding में हो गया होगा आप लोग को। ठीक है, एक और चीज है, this is called Laplacian. Laplacian is also widely used. So the Laplacian is often denoted as Nabla square. Nabla square is again an operator. Okay, and this is defined as divergence of gradient of u of
सर
any scalar. हाँ बोलो।
सर एक स्लाइड पीछे जा सकते हैं सर?
बोलो।
सर यहाँ पे जो हमने सर ये IJK वाला सॉल्व किया ना सर अभी,
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
तो उसमें सर हमने यहाँ पे -k क्यों लिया है?
Okay.
0 + 0 - k कैप।
दिस कॉमा दिस माइनस दिस, मे बी ये प्लस ही होगा, मे बी इसका जो घुमाव मतलब देखो यहाँ पे हम वो समझाने के लिए कर दिए, समझाने के लिए हम कर दिए, प्रोबेबली ये +2 ही होगा, मतलब इसका जो होगा घुमाव जो होगा उल्टे डायरेक्शन में होगा एक्चुअली, इसका मतलब है मैं समझाने के लिए कर दिया था, मे बी फील्ड मेरा ऐसा कुछ आया होगा, हम वो करके नहीं देखें पर हो सकता है ऐसा कुछ आया हो। ओके, तब इसका जो घुमाव हो पॉजिटिव के डायरेक्शन में 2 स्ट्रेंथ का हो रहा होगा। So maybe वो जस्ट समझाने के लिए था, मतलब वो ये अलजेब्रा, इट्स जस्ट अलजेब्रा, ठीक है, बट द थिंग इज यू हैव द फिजिकल इंट्यूशन ऑफ कर्ल नाउ। ओके, इट इज
यस
सम सॉर्ट ऑफ सर्कुलेशन और vorticity अराउंड द पॉइंट।
यस सर।
ओके गुड, ओके गुड। So this Laplacian operator is nothing but the divergence of the gradient phi, which is equal to del square phi. Okay, and this is written in terms of dou 2 by dou x square. This operator is written as dou 2 by dou y square, dou 2 by dou z square operated at phi. So this is in some sense double derivative of this particular scalar field, double derivative, like slope of slope you can say. Okay, so वो जो वेक्टर पॉइंट होता, वो वेक्टर पॉइंट का भी स्लोप किस टाइम की तरफ पे आ रहा है, कुछ उस सेंस में, ठीक है। सो इसका ज़्यादा कुछ फिजिकल सिग्निफिकेंस नहीं है। नाउ वी विल so let's catch some characteristics of these three things what we have learned before. Right now the vector field with zero divergence, जीरो डाइवर्जेंस मीन्स मेरा पैरेलल फ्लो हो रहा था, उसमें कोई डाइवर्जेंस नहीं था किसी भी पॉइंट पे, कोई पॉइंट पे हीटिंग नहीं हो रही थी, अचानक से कुछ निकल के नहीं आ रहा था, सोर्स टर्म नहीं था। सो अगर जीरो डाइवर्जेंस है, यहाँ पे मेरा डेल डॉट यू जीरो है, इज कॉल्ड सोलेनोइडल, ये ध्यान रखेंगे आप लोग, और ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है। अ वेक्टर फील्ड विथ जीरो कर्ल इज सेड टू बी इरोटेशनल। सो ध्यान आया होगा, यहाँ पे मेरा जीरो निकल के आ गया था, ठीक है, तो ये वाला जो फील्ड आया मेरा, इसका अगर कर्ल ले रहे हैं तो इसका जो कर्ल आएगा तो इसको बोला जाता है कि नेट सर्कुलेशन हो रहा है, अगर कुछ वोटिसिटी आया तो इसको बोला जाता है रोटेशनल फ्लो। अगर अगर ऐसा कुछ आ रहा है कि डायरेक्ट पूरी डाइवर्ज कर रहा है तो हम उसको बोल देते हैं इरोटेशनल फ्लो। दिस इज व्हाट इट इज रिटन ओवर हियर, इरोटेशनल। अगर जीरो कर ले इसको इरोटेशनल बोल देते हैं। आई एम सॉरी, दिस इज इरोटेशनल। व्हाई? क्योंकि इसका डेल क्रॉस वी मेरा जीरो आता है ना, इसका डेल क्रॉस वी कुछ आएगा एक्चुअली में, सो दिस इज इरोटेशनल। ओके, इसका चेक करेंगे इसका आएगा कि नहीं, पैरेलल फ्लोज का प्रोबेबली आ जाएगा। The scalar field with zero gradient is said to be constant. So what does it mean? So let's suppose you have a isosurface. Let's suppose this is your t is equal to 20 line, this is your t is equal to 21 line, this is your t is equal to 22 line. So यहाँ पे ग्रेडियंट मेरा कुछ है, मतलब इस पॉइंट पे यहाँ मैक्सिमम इंक्रीज इधर हो रहा है, इस पॉइंट पे इधर हो रहा है, इस पॉइंट पे इधर हो रहा है। ओके, अगर जीरो ग्रेडियंट होता इसका मतलब क्या है, जो तुम्हारा ये 20 है नेक्स्ट वाला भी 20 ही होता, मतलब देयर इज नो चेंज थ्रू आउट योर थिंग्स इज कांस्टेंट, तभी तुम्हारा ग्रेडियंट जीरो होगा, अदरवाइज तुम्हारा ग्रेडियंट कुछ रहेगा। सो दीज आर सम कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स। Okay, one more thing and then we'll move into, so we'll put this thing, will come again before we start two theorems. I will come back again, these two things come again, this is not so important, but let me introduce one theorem called Gauss theorem today. Gauss theorem in fluid mechanics, Gauss theorem and Stokes theorem, these two theorems are very very important, and these had some physical implication, but we are not going to do the mathematical mathematics behind it, will not do this, we'll just talk about the physics behind it. Okay, so the Gauss theorem is basically a theorem that relates a volume integral to the surface integral. Okay. Now, before describing what my Gauss theorem is intuitively properly, before that you need to understand what are these volume and surface integrals. Okay. Once we understand this volume and surface integral, we will be able to understand the Gauss and Stokes theorems. So the volume integral is defined as volume integral of any quantity. Let's suppose I am taking some vector. So the volume integral of any vector, let's suppose q vector I am taking. So q vector is defined as q vector dv and integrated over the volume. Okay, so to understand this, let's suppose you have a enclosure, you have a uh, closed surface. It means some sort of ball or your mouse. Okay, and it has the total volume is v. You take an infinitesimal volume dv inside it. Okay, and your q vector was going across this. Your q vector field was going across this. Let's suppose your q vector field is going across this. So since this was vector field, it can do anything. Okay, going across this. So this was your vector field, any vector field. Other different points, it will have some other vectors. Okay, q can be anything. 2xi plus 5j 5yj plus 6z square k something, because this is your q vector. So q vector dotted with this dv, q vector dotted with this dv will give you the volume integral, and if it is integrated over whole volume, this is your volume vector. Similarly, the surface integral of any vector q is defined as q dot dA integrated over all area. Similarly, line integral of any vector q is defined as q dot dl integrated over the curve or the line. Nothing more than that. Okay. So probably we have 2 minutes, so I will not go into details because we will take this thing because you have to understand this. So what we'll take in 2 minutes, I'll describe this, and once this Gauss and Stokes theorem is over, I mean this chapter will be over. I mean our first chapter, rather second chapter. First chapter was introduction. So this tensor notation will be over. So symmetric and anti-symmetric tensors, what are these? So I just want to take pardon for not moving this forward because we don't have time. So rather than we'll understand this. So this is very easy to understand. The symmetric tensor is defined as you have a tensor, you have tensor components I comma j, and if your I and j places are being swapped, you will get the same tensor. It means tau 1 2 is equal to tau 2 1, and if it is equal, we call this as symmetric tensor. Tau 2 3 is equal to tau 3 2, right? So here let's suppose tau 1 1, tau 1 2, tau 2 3, this is tau 2 1, so this will be equal, tau 2 1 is equal to 1 2, so I'll write 1 2 here, tau 2 2, tau 2 3, this is tau 2 3 is equal to tau, really sorry, 2 3, right, 2 3, and this one would be 3 2, which will be equal to 2 3 dot 3 2, which will be equal to this. So this will be equal to this will be equal to this dot 3 3. Okay, so this tensor is called symmetric tensor, and it has generally it has uh, some nice properties. You will go and check with the matrix algebras. You will get symmetric tensors have some nice properties. It has some nice way of getting eigenvalues and all. So fine. So we just want to know that what are symmetric tensors written in terms of tensor notation. So we are going to swap these I and j components each other, and the anti-symmetric tensors are those when swapped you have to put a negative sign over here. So it means if you have p11, p12, p13, so it is p minus p12 basically, p22, p23 minus p13, p23 minus p33. So all these negative signs shows that this is a anti-symmetric tensor. Okay, and any tensor can be written in terms of symmetric as the sum of symmetric and anti-symmetric tensors. Okay, so this is the sum of symmetric tensors, and this is the sum of anti-symmetric tensors. Minus sign is here, and any this is a property. I mean, this is straightforward. You can go and check. So yeah, that's all for today's class. We'll talk about more in details for this Gauss theorem and its application in fluid mechanics and Stokes theorem, and then this particular chapter will be ended. So any doubt so far? If no, then we can leave.